Hello and welcome to Quartzlight, your car brochure channel, and today's episode, the Toyota Tercel 4-wheel drive. Welcome back. In Quartzlight, if you don't know it, we look at car brochures from around the world, so if you think that might interest you, please consider subscribing. Anyway, back to today's episode, the Toyota Tercel, and what a really interesting 4-wheel drive car this is. Bit of a request from one of the viewers not so long ago, and I must admit, it's up there with one of my favourite cars, so I was more than pleased to do this video. The brochure today is from 1985, so let's have a look at that now. So here is today's brochure. Like I said, 1985, it's a UK brochure. These particular Tercels were actually based on the second generation, which went from 82 to 88. Overall, there was actually 5 generations of Tercel, but I think we only got 2 generations in Europe. And they were 3 doors, they were 5 doors, and then there was this. The most interesting of all, this 4-wheel drive. It had a 1.5 litre engine and actually a 6-speed gearbox, which sounds like it's ahead of its time, but really a 5-speed and like an ultra low range that you can only use in 4-wheel drive. Oh, and on the back page there is a bit of a dealer stamp, so let's just have a look at that. If you'll just tune in. There we go, Bristol's garage, and there it is in York, and the number, etc. And a little bit of a interesting Toyota, and sort of like this unusual slogan, "That's motoring." I must admit, I don't remember that slogan. Anyway, let's have a look at the brochure. Yeah, there's a few little marks, isn't there, on this brochure, a little bit of an unusual crease mark, but actually, the thing is, this isn't actually the brochure. Quite often on these Toyota brochures at this time, they gave you like a little bit of a folder, so to speak. Let's have a look at some of these images and let's look at the brochure proper. Here's a glimpse of the inside. Nothing too spectacular about the seats, they don't look too special. Large boot area. Strangely, I don't know what it is about this image, but it kind of like reminds me of a Renault 5 for some reason from this image. Obviously, a much bigger vehicle than that though. And then some of the gauges, which we'll see more in the brochure, but you got interesting things like, you know, inclinometers and the like, and a few little bit more looks at the interior there. But let's open the brochure proper and then we'll get a better look at this car. So like I say, the brochure itself is in this little folder, so we'll pull it out like so. The specification is actually printed on the folder, so we'll come back to that in a moment. So overall, a very interesting design. Here's the brochure itself. Obviously, you can see it's in much better condition, being protected in that nice folder. I always thought this little window at the back here was quite unusual. On the back, and you can see the 4-wheel drive badge on the front there. Inside, well, the first page is actually not this, and we'll come back to this in a moment. It actually folds out into a very large picture of the Tercel. What a great little image that is. Really nice to see that opening, like I say, 3 ways, so 3 A4 pages to give a good look at it. It wasn't a big car, was it? But it was, like I say, a memorable car for me, and it's sad that there really isn't any of these left anymore. Rust was a big issue, and I remember seeing very rusty ones when I was younger, but they do sadly seem to have all disappeared. In the UK, at least, in warmer climates, I'm sure there's many of these still running around, because a very reliable vehicle with this great 4-wheel drive system on it. Anyway, let's move on. So here we go, back to this sort of gear lever image. We'll have a closer look at this, and then we'll have a look at some of these text about this sort of four-wheel drive system. Okay, so you can see the lever here to shift into four-wheel drive, and the gear lever itself, 5-speed, the reverse, and this little red thing, it says EL or extra low, so that's the extra low gear, which I believe you could only select actually when it was in four-wheel drive. Anyway, let's have a look at the text. It says here, the Tercel four-wheel drive, the unique estate car with extra versatility. Like no other car before it, the Toyota Tercel four-wheel drive breaks new ground. It's a truly unique estate car with a distinctive high roof profile and individual styling, plus four-wheel drive versatility. Tercel makes a perfect around town car, and its spacious, comfortable interior and roomy cargo area for shopping. But when streets become slippery, Tercel's four-wheel drive has the ability to change personality and providing the added dimension of extraordinary traction. And it was a little bit of a strange four-wheel drive system. It really didn't have a conventional centre differential, and you know, the four-wheel drive was really there only if you put it on slippery surfaces, otherwise you could cause some damage. So it was a little bit of a sort of very simple system, but there we go. It made it a very interesting car. You know, if you did get stuck, pop it in four-wheel drive and it'll get you out of there. Then we get this image, probably my favourite image actually in this particular brochure. I always think the rear of the Tercel four-wheel drive was the more striking, the most interesting. This nice Toyota lettering at the top there. The unusual way that the number plate was set to one side, and this centre reversing light, an unusual way to lay it out. And I always like when car companies try and do something a little bit different. We've got these white wheels and the white and the red. It looks quite good in this colour, I think. We've also got the skis attached to the top, and I guess in this scene that four-wheel drive would be quite useful, wouldn't it? Anyway, let's see what it's got to say for itself. Tercel four-wheel drive, extra traction when you need it, even when the weather makes roads difficult. Tercel four-wheel drive keeps going strong, just shifts into four-wheel drive immediately. Tercel four-wheel drive, extra traction when you need it, even when the weather makes roads difficult. Tercel four-wheel drive keeps going strong. Just shift into four-wheel drive immediately, you feel the added traction. Tercel 4WD provides extra confidence in snow or rain. The unique combination of all-wheel drive and a spacious, versatile interior also makes Tercel 4WD the ideal car for outdoor leisure activities. Then we get this interesting page, don't we? So it's like the cutaway. Like I said, the seats aren't really anything special, are they? But I guess it's trying to show you how much space, and certainly it looks like there's a lot of leg room in there for sure. Let's have a look at some of this text anyway. Okay, so it says the Tercel 4WD inside story, a higher roof, more usable space. The Tercel 4WD interior is big, bright and wide open to the light. There are big wide windows all round thanks to the distinctive high roof profile that gives passengers more headroom and a greater feeling of space. The extended high roofline also adds to the amount of usable cargo area. Rear seats fold down separately to expand the wide, fully carpeted cargo area. Tercel makes maximum use of its generous space. As versatile as any wagon, Tercel 4WD is also well appointed as a sedan. Upholstery and trim are high quality. Adjustable front seats are reclined fully and are contoured for lateral support. There's a clean, functional dash panel with controls and meters grouped for easy reading and operation. Controls for the powerful heater and ventilation system are right at hand, as is the optional FM stereo radio. So then this clever little brochure then kind of opens up to show the inside of the car. So let's have a look in there now. So we get glimpses of the interior and these sort of dashboard and all the extra little dials you get on this four-wheel drive version. So let's have a look at some of this image and some of this sort of text here as well. Okay, so here's the dash. You see we've got a rev counter, but we've also got quite a few bit of equipment for the 80s anyway. Additional things are, I think this one's actually indicates when it's in four-wheel drive, and the next two are the inclinometers. So, you know, if you're leaning over too much, just be careful. I'm sure most people never actually use that, and there is some like better images of that. Let's see what the writing says underneath there. Warning, accurate only when completely stopped. Do not exceed 30 degrees. And you can see a little four-wheel drive. It looks like it lights up in the middle once it's engaged. And interesting on these, I don't think you had to be completely stopped actually to engage that four-wheel drive, which was interesting. Various little gauges and etc. You know, more standard stuff really. So nothing too out of the ordinary really, apart from them sort of like four-wheel drive features. This little radio, nothing too special there really, is there? And then this is what it shows in the centre, kind of like demonstrating how practical the vehicle is with this split seats. It looks like a 50-50 by the looks of it, and you know, room to put your whatever, in this case some kind of bike, and I don't know if that's a bike helmet or it must be classed as a bike helmet. I was going to say is that for climbing, but maybe that is just the bike helmet. And then more little images which we'll have a look at now. We get this first image showing kind of the ventilation system. This showing a very strange tiny little tray behind the rear seats. You know, your remote mirrors, a little bit of a mirror in your sun visor, and the trim levels, wind down windows as you can see, seat belts and the lights. This is probably more interesting though, this little blue one, and you know, packed up, you know, to go skiing. And then we've got this little bit of a cover for that rear area. Then we get a picture at the top of this yellow example. A few more little images which we'll have a look at now. Okay, first of all we've got a picture of the engine, and you can see on there it actually says 3A and it's described as the 3A engine. Again, we've got another bit of a glimpse of that gearbox, and then some unusually drawn little images there really. A bit of a look at looks like the inner workings of the engine and what it described as being a Siamese cylinder design. And then I think what it's trying to show is these little engine mounts, you know, to reduce the vibration. There's a little image, I think, showing the rack and pinion steering, maybe some kind of steering type image. Of course, the main car there and inner workings, and nice little inner look without the body on there. And then of course we've got the disc brakes, those sort of pedal layouts, and what looks like sort of a braking diagram. And then it shows these unusual white wheels again. So then the last page is showing this sort of action shot. And what have we got at the top here? Showing the body panels there. And the usual thing in these brochures, showing how well protected it all is, you know, showing all the different body. And then a little bit of an image of the factory itself making the Tercels. At the bottom there is some text here. It says Toyota quality, the secret to Tercel 4WD dependability and long vehicle life. Tercel 4WD is heir to famous Toyota quality, designed to meet your needs today and tomorrow. Tercel 4WD holds its own through hot and cold, wet and dry. You can trust your Tercel 4WD because it is designed, tested and produced by Toyota's advanced engineering. But perhaps the most important test Tercel 4WD has ever passed is the test of time. Satisfied owners have put Toyota to the test and come out winners all over the world. And then at the bottom here, it's got some sort of like dimensions and that, but what we'll do, we're actually going to look at the specifications on the main brochure. And then the back page showing this fantastic image of the rear of this Tercel in an unusual two-tone blue colour. So there are some interesting colour combinations, that's for sure. Also shows the little 4WD mud flaps on this one. And then actually we have to go all the way back to this folder again to actually get the UK specifications. So let's have a look at that now. As always, I won't be reading all this information out, but you can certainly pause the screen at any time if you want to look at every bit of information on this UK specifications list. So basically we've got a 1500cc engine or a 1452cc, looks like 71 brake horsepower. And then that interesting gearbox, so a manual 5-speed with that extra low all synchromesh, of course, and it does say there extra low only available when 4-wheel drive facility is selected. I sometimes wonder with these selectable 4-wheel drives in the UK and, you know, this extra low, I wonder if some of them never got used and, you know, they broke because they never got used, sort of thing. Because I imagine most people in the UK didn't need that facility, although wouldn't be bad on a farm, would it? Anyway, some information about suspension, final drive performance. So it's 97 miles per hour. Not a fast car though, is it? 0 to 60 in 15 seconds. Some of the fuel economy figures, which isn't too bad. Obviously most of the time, and I'm sure them fuel economy figures are while it's in 2-wheel drive, of course. And then we get some dimensions and weights before we get to the equipment levels. And like I say, quite well equipped overall, really. I mean, the Japanese in the 80s were clever in putting all this extra equipment in there, which, you know, people obviously saw as soon as they got in the car how much equipment these cars had. Like I said, I'm not going to read all this out, so, you know, please do pause this screen if you want to read it all. I'll move it down so you can see the last little bit. Like so. So yeah, that's all the equipment on this model. And like I say, pause it if you want to read the rest of this information. We should also really read this bit of information that's on the folder, because basically what it's going to tell us is the brochure itself, this folder itself is for the UK market, so these are all UK features. The brochure, you know, everything may not be available in the UK. Anyway, let's read what it's got to say. It says it's taken Toyota's advanced engineering to bring you such an exciting car. The go anywhere, do anything Tercel 4WD estate. Apart from being a sure-footed front-wheel drive, the Tercel offers you all the benefits of four-wheel drive too, whenever you need it. Useful as it means you can take the toughest and muddiest of country roads or the problems of thick driving snow in its stride. So it's kind of like appealing to the UK market. Occasionally we might get a bit of snow in the UK. Hey, there's four-wheel drive on this one. The rugged looks too, the luxurious interior of all a driver could want, the impressive amount of space and height. All this goes to make the Tercel a remarkable multi-function vehicle. One that's equally at home being a luxurious saloon as it is acting as a practical, versatile and rugged estate car. Powered by a lively 1.5 litre engine, it has a 5-speed manual gearbox plus an extra low gear when four-wheel drive is operated. Rack and pinion steering contributes to a firm and positive handling. Stylish, spacious and economical, the Tercel 4WD estate is definitely for those who appreciate a driving experience that's full of action, fun and freedom. And this is a bit of a clause here. Please note that this brochure contains in this folder is for general information on the Tercel 4WD estate. Correct UK specifications and equipment are detailed on the folder itself. So a clever little bit of a way of just making the folder for the UK market, but the brochure itself more for general use. So that brings us to the end of this 1985 brochure. Any memories of the car or experiences, please do jot that in the comments. Always fascinating to read and I really appreciate that. But we'll end by saying thank you so much for watching today. I always appreciate your time. Please do like and subscribe if you've not done already. That really does help. But for now we'll say take care and we'll see you very soon. Goodbye.